मूल निवासी सभ्यता एवं कलाचार के सम्मान में लाखों कार्यकर्ताओं का आगाज, विचार गोष्ठी, साहित्य प्रदर्शनी, चलचित्र प्रदर्शनी, गीत, संगीत, अभिनय, नृत्य कार्यक्रम, खानपान प्रदर्शनी और खेल कौशल प्रदर्शनी के माध्यम से मूल निवासियों के सम्मान में मूल निवासी सभ्यता का आगाज। मूल निवासी सभ्यता संघ का पहला राष्ट्रीय अधिवेशन नागसेन वन परिसर, मिलिंद महाविद्यालय, संभाजीनगर, औरंगाबाद, महाराष्ट्र, 26 एवं 27 अक्टूबर 2022। आइए हमारे महामानवों के सपनों का भारत स्थापित करने के लिए शामिल हो।
जय भीम, जय मूल निवासी। आप सभी का पुनः एक बार स्वागत है MNT न्यूज नेटवर्क के इस खास कार्यक्रम में। जैसा कि आप जानते हैं कि वर्तमान में EWS यह एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण विषय, बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण चर्चा पिछले 7 दिनों से पूरे सोशल मीडिया में छाई रही है और इस विषय पर हम अलग अलग तरीके से आपके पास जानकारी पहुंचाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। तो आज का जो ये विषय है, यह विषय भी EWS इस रिजर्वेशन के तहत ही हमने सामने लाया है। और आज जो हमारे साथ खास मेहमान उपलब्ध है, वे खास तौर से इस विषय को अंग्रेजी भाषा में हमारे सामने रखना चाहेंगे। तो आज का जो विषय है, आर्थिक आधार पर आरक्षण कितना संवैधानिक, कोर्ट की सुनवाई में अब तक क्या क्या हुआ। और इसमें आज हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं डॉक्टर के एलुमलाई। So, Dr. K. ELUMALAI, since he is from South India and he is going to share his views and various developments related to this topic. Specifically, we are going ahead to discuss this topic in English, and the topic in English will be Reservation to Economically Weaker Section, EWS, based on economic criteria. How much constitutional? EWS reservation case hearing updates till now. So, what has happened till dates that we are going to discuss in today's session. So welcome you all to MNT News Network, and as this is a very very important topic which we are going to discuss, I would request all, as this video is live on Facebook and YouTube, I would request all the viewers who have joined to share this to share the link of this particular video in their social media, as well as whatever links they are having, so that whatever developments has happened for the last 7 days, that they will also get aware, and also we will be able to understand the details right from the person who was directly involved in this particular case hearings, and he was directly involved in all the 7 days activities. So as I mentioned, today we have a very eminent personalities, and he is Professor Dr. K. ELUMALAI. He is basically advocate in the Supreme Court of India, and he is also former professor of law in Central University, and he is a person who has advocated, and he appeared before the constitutional bench of the Supreme Court in this particular EWS case. So this topic, this discussion will be very very important. So I would request each and everyone to share this link, so that this important information is passed to one and all. So without wasting more time, I would specifically like to request Dr. K. ELUMALAI sir in MNT News Network studio. Sir, welcome you to MNT News Network, sir. Jai Bhim, Jai मूल निवासी, Jai Svedant, Jai Bharat, sir.
Thank you very much to your channel, sir, for giving me an opportunity to speak to our viewers.
Sir, it's really our pleasure to have with you in our MNT News Network studio, because actually you are a person who are directly witnessed this particular all 7 days development, and all our viewers are very anxious to know, because actually for the last 7 days, almost every channel, every newspaper, every social media, they were covering the issue of EWS. For the last 7 days, this so there are various ways, various discussions going on in the entire social media, and the term EWS, it is discussed at depth for the last 7 days. And as far as we see the development from 2019, after this 103rd constitutional amendment. This is particularly a topic for discussion. So first, we would like to know from you how this subject matter has landed at the Supreme Court and what is the present status of it as on date. Please,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you, sir. Actually, it is very, very important to know and understand how the matter and the way in which, or the process by which, the path by which it landed at the Supreme Court of India for a common man's understanding. Before we take this very briefly, let me give you within a couple of minutes what the Constitution important provisions is there, because many of the all the common men may not be having the thorough knowledge of the Constitution of India. Therefore, very briefly, what are the important provisions of the Constitution which are relevant to our today's topic? Let me briefly tell you, sir. You know, sir, all the people, our country, they know our country's constitution, one of the longest constitution in the world, consisting of 22 parts with the 395 articles. Then it also consists of importantly, the preamble of the Constitution of India, which contains the ideals and goals visualized by the Constitution framers and which has to be achieved in the years to come or the centuries to come. So all the ideals and the goals visualized by our framers are given in this. What are those? That it starts, we the people of India solemnly affirm to ourselves is socialist, sovereign, secular, democratic republic. These are the values which is to be achieved by the nation as a whole. Then also, we ourselves given to ourselves justice, which includes economic justice, social justice, political justice. Economic justice is related to the individual oriented, just like fundamental rights, all those things and all. And the directive principle related to the group rights, that is for the social justice. Then the political justice is related to our representation, the panchayat election, municipal elections, state assembly elections, and the parliament and the parliament. That's a political representation. That's of the justice. Then another ideals are liberty of thought and expression. We have the liberty to think, thought, express ourselves. But at the same time, we have the certain limit. We cannot, so it's not the unlimited or absolute right. It is relative right that about which I will explain it later. Then equality of opportunity. That is also one of the ideals to be achieved by ourselves, which as ideas given by the framers of the question. Then the fraternity. That is that we all live together. That's the meaning of fraternity. So these are the ideals which has to be achieved by the nation as a whole, and these ideals are reflected throughout the constitutional frame articles of 395. Very briefly, let us touch upon important things. For instance, the fundamental right, Article 12 to 35 conferred fundamental rights upon the citizens, out of which the fundamental rights related to our today's subject are this Article 14, 15, 17, very important, talks about the equality. Equality of status and opportunity. Then 15 talks and 16 talks about the power conferred on the parliament to come out legislation for the fixed second scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. In jobs, 16 talks about this. In other aspects, talks of 15. Then 17, very important, untouchability is prohibited. But even today, untouchability is even practiced. Before going to the subject, let me bring one of our own. Just a small deviation to this. One of the petitions filed by the People's Party of India, Democratic, and the thing our advocate, senior advocate, Dr. K.S. Chauhan, while appearing before the Supreme Court, he gave this example. Where is the equality in this country when the president of this country is not even allowed to enter into the temple? And the Mrs. President also, they have not been entered into the temple. If this is the status of today, with rest the highest, the number of the first citizen of this country, then what will be the fate of we the common man? Where is the equality? We are in the 21st century. Where is this? So that is what he emphasized on that. There is equality is not achieved even today. Therefore, the people need to be protected in various aspects. Just this a deviation from this. Again, let me come back to it. Then the directive principles, which are the social objectives to achieve, that is given there, Article 46, about which I will discuss it later. And the fundamental duty, Article 15, unfortunately in our country, the duties are not being, let's say, kept in mind by all the systems, institutional and individual. In fact, I'll go to the extent of saying, as it is a well settled jurisprudential philosophy, there is no right available to anyone whatsoever without a corresponding duty attached to this. Unfortunately, in our country, we always talk about the right, fundamental right, but nobody talks about the duty. The public properties are being, say, demolished, wasted. Nobody has a concern. We have a duty to preserve our ourselves, nation, property, everything. Anyway, this is not our subject matter. The fundamental duties one. Then let me also important the three organs of the state: legislature, executive, judiciary. That's the important. Legislature job is to legislate for laws for the benefit of the people at large. So the legislature includes the parliament consisting of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, state legislation. Then down the line, we have the Panchayat Raj system, municipal corporations, and all that is the legislative part of it. Then the executive. The executive starts with the President of India, Council of Ministers, and all the bureaucrats down the line, right down up to the village patwari or the pradhan. Thus, the executive is concerned. The judiciary, of course, we have the Supreme Court at the highest level, and say high courts for states and the district level courts, and below that those things are. So this the separation of power is very much understand. But that's about this. And another important point I have to touch upon related to our subjects is the power of the parliament to amend the constitution, article 368. That is very, very important. That is the parliament, the framers of the constitution, they conferred power upon the parliament to amend the constitution of India with the certain limitations and all that are done. So therefore, the parliament is vested with the power to amend the constitution. What small reference about the American constitution over 250 years old, but the constitution amended only 7 or 8 times only. But our constitution is only 75 years old, where we have gone about 105 amendments or so. See the difference. So our constitution is dynamic. It should be dynamic also. Now coming back to our subject, by the parliament in excess of its power under Article 360 of the Constitution, for amending the Constitution, they brought an amendment called they brought a bill in the Parliament called the 124th Constitution Amendment Bill. Their bill was introduced. I mean, the very interesting, not interesting, very sad part of this, how hurriedly the legislation is introduced. That I will touch upon this, because one of the essential basic feature of the basics of the Constitution, democratic principles to be observed, and the democratic principle, the democratic system principle includes participative democracy. Means that the members, the constituent member, should have an opportunity to discuss and deliberate on the bills introduced by the parliament or the state legislature and so on down the line and all. But unfortunately, this is not being followed. That I'm going to demonstrate now. That this 124th Constitution Amendment Bill was introduced on 8th January 2019 by the Social Justice Minister, Mr. Gallet. Then 8th January it was introduced, and it was passed by the Lok Sabha on the very next day. And incidentally, that 9th day happens to be the last working day of the Lok Sabha of that particular session. What I wanted to bring to your kind notice by all is, if the government intention is good, or otherwise for the good for the benefit of this nation as a whole, they should not have introduced the bill on the last day of the working of the session, because the people need time. Even the members, generally it is noticed and observed, the members the last day or before, one day before, they try to go back to their own constituencies. So keeping that is so, therefore, at the intention of the government is good, they should have introduced the bill when the session was, the parliament in the middle of the session also. It's my personal view. That's number one. Then that it was passed by the Rajya Sabha very next day. Then on 10th January, it was again introduced in the Rajya Sabha. And in the Rajya Sabha, the DMK party in Tamil Nadu, the MP Kanimudi, she made a request to refer the bill to the Parliamentary Select Committee, for the reason that it is a very, very important constitutional amendment bill, affecting the society as a whole. Therefore, without discussion, this bill cannot be passed. Therefore, she made a fervent appeal that to the Rajya Sabha, the chairperson then, and supported by other members also. But unfortunately, the chairperson did not accept that request, and instead they gone for a voting and all. That's the procedure has been followed. Hardly 2 to 3 hours are spent for the entire process of Rajya Sabha, and the Rajya Sabha passed it on the very same day on 10th January. So therefore, the requirement of the parliament is that it should be passed by both houses of parliament, that is fulfilled within a day of 2. Then on 11th January, it was perhaps sent to the president for his assent. And the president on the 12th January he gives his assent for the bill. And on the same day, 12th January, the Gazette notification issued. And then 13th appears to be on Sunday. The 14th, then the bill comes into force. See that from 8th January to 12th January, within a matter of 4 days, 4 days, the one important constitutional amendment has been sailed through the parliament process without having any debate. That is what in fact our Dr. K.S. Chavan, our senior advocate, while appearing before, he tried to impress upon the judges. See, this is one of the important basic feature of the constitution, that democratic, democracy. So democracy means deliberations by the members. If the parliament is not giving any opportunity to the members to discuss on this, where is the democratic principle affected? So it affects the basic structure also. Unfortunately, I must say, perhaps the judges were sitting on the clock. They set the clock on motion for the purpose of finishing that, reaching the finishing line, perhaps in my opinion. Therefore, they did not give importance to the points that the points raised by him. In fact, that's what. In any case, if not today, tomorrow, the judiciary should step in. Now, what the judges, the Supreme Court of the view that it is true that the judiciary cannot go into the or examine the kind of discussion or debate took place within the parliament, but we did not ask for the interference with the discussion debate took place in the parliament. We only said, please look into this 4 days spent by the parliament. Is it sufficient to have a effective discussion delivered on this matter? Unfortunately, they did not look into this, but it has to be looked into one day or the other. Now, thereafter, once it was passed by the parliament, assented by the president, immediately a PIL was filed in the Supreme Court of India challenging this constitutional bill, and also the DMK government filed a motion in Madras High Court challenging that the reservation should be based on the community to which an individual belongs and not their economic criteria. Because let me come back to this. Now, the constitutional amendment made a provision for giving reservation on the basis of the economic criteria, which is not permitted as per the Indira Sahni case and all. So they said this has been pending before the Madras High Court. Then thereafter, again, on February 8th, the Supreme Court bench, headed by the then Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi, declined to grant a stay on the PIL filed. Again, here I must say, but agreed to hear the matter. That is the challenge to the under government. Now, the status is, because the failure to grant stay on this PIL led to the situation where the government from January 2019 onwards to till date filled several the position in running to lakhs, perhaps in my opinion, on various action from class 4, class 3, class 1, 2 and all. It will be 1,000 in 80, 90,000, or it may exceed 1 lakhs also. Now, on the one side, the amendment is under challenge, and it is supposed. Meanwhile, the government, had the Supreme Court granted the stay, then the government would not have filled this many vacancies, which should have been otherwise been gone to the a part of it should have gone to the SC, ST, OBC meritorious candidates. Even if the Supreme Court declares this ultra virus, but the people belonging to the forward community already got the benefit of it. So that is what the painful matter, painful issue, serious concern. then leave it as it may be. Then on 31st, then that is what thing. Then 31st July 2018, the Attorney General defended the petition before the Supreme Court, that they defended that the amendment brought by the Parliament was within the constitutional framework. But the then Chief Justice of India, S.C. Bobde, decided to refer the matter to the Constitution bench, but declined to grant stay again. Both the Chief Justices, Mr. Ranjan Gogoi, did not stay the matter, bill, and also Mr. Bobde, he also did not grant stay. This is what. See, when you grant stay is not granted, that the government has right to go ahead with that. That has affected the people belonging, the aspirants, meritorious, I must say that, meritorious students belonging to SC, ST and OBC community, their quota has been taken away by these people and all. Then ultimately, on 6th September 2022, that the case with this case was listed for hearing. And the hearing was started on 8th September, and it was concluded on 27th September, yesterday. That is what the all conclusions over. This over, and it is reserved. The judgment is reserved. This is how the matter is landed before the Supreme Court in this consent. This is for the benefit of the common man is concerned. Yeah, please.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, as we see, right from the implementation, right from the after the independence and the implementation of the Constitution, the first amendment that was made was with respect to the
1951. Yeah.
1951, yeah. And
Yeah.
after that, continuous correct, sir. And after that, continuously, this issue is going on, and through various judgments, it was challenged in the High Court as well as Supreme Courts, and that's and the final it was. With respect to the 50% ceiling of reservation for SC, ST, OBCs through Indira Sani and other judgments. So basically, when this type of these constitutional provisions and constitutional debates and discussions are going on, and as you informed that this amendment, which was very hurriedly within 3 to 4 days, it got happened and it got implemented and it got executed also. And
executed also, that is it.
And if you see for the last 75 years of independence of India and implementation of the Constitution, basically whatever these rights are given for the educationally as well as socially backward, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes, specifically this 50% reservation. And if you see the implementation of this overall reservation status, so on one side, the level, if we compare from the first day of implementation of Constitution to the till date, the level is not, we cannot see the level has reached to the next level of implementing these provisions specifically. And when these constitutional provisions were already there, again, instead of implementing that particular thing, because what I perceive is that in this backwardness and provisions for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other backward classes, there is already a provision for the criteria for defining them is already on economical ground also. So other than that, and also the 50% ceiling, still so many developments has happened. But we would like to know more from you. What was the major controversial issues between this this Constitution amendment and this 50% ceiling? Basically, whether it was included within this 10% EWS reservation, whatever it was highlighted, whether it was whatever it has been executed, whether it was executed within this 50% ceiling or it was other than this 50% ceiling, which was 50% reservation ceiling, which was already highlighted by the apex court of the country. So what this controversial issue was, that we would like to hear from you more.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'll just before that, I would like to add a few more things also. Now, let us understand what is the status of reservation before bringing this 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act 2019. I referred about the 124th bill. The bill has been, when it was passed, it has become as the 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act 2019. Now, before this act, this came into force, the total reservation available was 49.5%. That is, the breakup is 7.5% to the ST community, 15% for SC community, and 27% the backward classes community. So 49.5%. That is what that is. Now, if with the addition of this 10%, it comes to 59.5%. But as you rightly said, that the Indira Sahni case, they put a cap of the reservation should not exceed 50%. That is the bone of contention in this issue with regard to the petitioners are concerned. Now, again, we should understand before to understand this, we should also know what is the reason or purpose, objective behind providing reservation for SC and ST community under our constitutional framework by the constitutional framers. See, it is not the reservation is not the mandir prasad to be distributed whoever comes and whoever demands for it. No, the reservation is not the mandir prasad. On the contrary, it is an weapon power given to the parliament lawmakers to distribute it judiciously. On what basis? The basis is given in the very clearly. The people who have been subjected to traditionally and historically over thousands of centuries, who have been subjected to harassment, humiliation, exploitation, they have been subject to. So that type of segment of the people, they should be given the certain consideration in the form of reservation for the purpose of bringing them at par with the other forward communities in the country. That is the reason and basis. So it is, I would like to put it, reservation as a constitutional purpose mandate. That, let me repeat it at the cost of repetition. The reason for providing reservation is the so-called scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, who were subjected to thousands of years of exploitation. They never, even it is not the platform to speak about this, Vedas, Upanishad. If you read the Vedas, even in the Vedas, the Vedas also support, it is clearly maintained. I will give one example. If a scheduled caste man looks upon the forward caste community, it is an offense. If a forward community man looks upon the scheduled caste women, then it is not an offense. What is this is what is mentioned in your Vedas. Now, is it clearly discriminated? It's a man-made. Let me not get into any controversy beyond this point. But getting back to this, so historically, this reservation is with the specific purpose and objective for the humiliated people, for the exploited people, with the purpose to bring them at par with the so-called forward class community. If that is the purpose, if that is the objective, if that is the mandate prescribed our constitutional makers, and it has been included in our constitutional framework, then what is the rationale or basis providing 10% reservation to the forward class community? That is the first issue. Number two, then that is again is mentioned that the writ petition filed the Madras High Court. The reservation is based on the community, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, backward class, forward community, forward caste. This is what, there is no other classification available in this country. Economic classification, social classification, those are the different issue. Again, another thing is, a person who born in the takes birth in the scheduled caste family or scheduled caste family, scheduled tribe family, till his death, he will remain as a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, as the case may, irrespective of or regardless of his change in the economic status. That is what. But whereas this economic criteria that belong to forward caste, the forward caste will remain as the forward caste only. But in the economic criteria may change anytime. Today, a person who is a millionaire, he may become a pauper tomorrow. A pauper, he may become a billionaire tomorrow. So it's a changing concept. So you can, such a changing concept, such a dynamic concept, you cannot keep it as a criteria for providing reservation. A static criteria is a must for providing reservation like caste, because he borns with that tag, he dies with the tag. Whatever the changes taking place, economic situation, economic situation is concerned. Here it is not the case. The another argument is, here you cannot equate the caste with the class. Economic criteria, it may change, that I'll come back to later. This is what. So therefore, with this, what the constitutional amendment 103rd amendment was provided was that one should understand that it has two classes under 15.6 and 16.6. Under the 15.6, it has conferred power upon the Parliament to make special provisions for advancement of the economically weaker sections of the citizens. Other than that is what very important. Scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC. This is what the objection raised with the petitioners concern. One of the objections that this special provision, another thing I must say, with talk of the reservation, it is clearly made by the various judgment that the people, the reservation 49.5% they are apart, but the remaining general category 50%, even a meritorious candidates from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and backward class community, they have the equal right to compete, and so on merit basis, if they are selected, they have the right to get constitutionally get his appointment under the general category, not under the reserved category. Let me repeat it, because this point should be understood, because unfortunately many of this, even the public sector undertaking, public sector institutions, even if the person belongs to the scheduled caste community, scheduled tribe community, if they come on merit, but they, instead of giving the appointment on the side of the 50% quota, say applicable to the general category, they push down to the reserved category with the rest. To that extent, the opportunity of otherwise not perform, there's a less meritorious candidates, opportunities being affected or taken away. So therefore, this is what the argument is. If this exclusion of SC and ST and OBC from this 10% reservation category takes away the right of the SC, ST, BC meritorious candidates to get job opportunities in the remaining 50% also. That is what the another argument placed by the petitioners concerned. Then this is about the talks about this reservation 15.6 is applicable for reservation made in for the economically weaker sections other than SC, OBC, and ST for making reservation in the admissions to the educational institutions, including private educational aided or unaided institutions. So this reservation made for related to the admission in, it may be a medical college, it may be engineering college, it may be anything. 10% reservation in the educational institutions, that excluding the SC, ST, OBC, who would have been otherwise come through a merit basis. And coming back to 16.6, it talks of the reservation in employment. Again, the same thing, only for shortage of time. I will not spend much time on this. The 10% again made for the economically weaker sections who otherwise belong to the forward caste and community only. So they 10% is reserved for in public employments. Again, they are excluding the meritorious candidates of SC, ST, OBC community. This is what the bone of content is. When we talk, see in the Article 330 of the Constitution, that is clearly mentioned that SC, ST candidate, if they found their own performance merit basis, they can be given the reservation. When it comes to the SC, they talk about the merits. Even today, it is on record. The most of the government record of statistics, I may not be good the source and all, in the job, the government employment government sector, the SC, ST members are given employment in up to the class 4, that is the lowest this grade. If you go to the class 2 and class 3, their percentage of share is getting down, say even maybe it's less than 7%. In the class 1 top category, hardly any person belong to SC, ST community, OBC community, sorry, SC, ST community is appointed. No, see, it is with the deliberate intention, because their objective is they wanted to show that we are giving 15%, 7.5%. But what is the proportionality? There is don't talk about the proportion. What is the proportion in the class 4? The class 4, 20 to 30% of the posts are filled by the people belong to SC and ST only. And so that is how the things are coming. And the overall 7.5% they are saying. But you go by the, again, I would like to unrelated issues. It may not be today, tomorrow the issue will come for the public. See, this thing and all. If you say that, let me unrelated, sorry for, but it's relevant. In the government sector, corruption is taking place. It's a very, very common. Corrupt practices. Who are the people in corrupt practices? People belong to the top. The people in the peon are the class 4 employees. Where is the score opportunity for him to get to the this corrupt practices? So therefore, all the corrupt practices in the government, it is ipso facto. It's should be assumed that people who are in the highest cadre, they are involved in the corrupt practices taking place in the government sector, and all those things are there. Therefore, this issue will be taken up, if not today, tomorrow, when they talk about this merits of the candidate, the SH candidate, leaving it apart. I'm leaving that only. So the reservation for the 10% for the this economically weaker segment, otherwise means to forward community only, that eats away the rights of the SC, ST, and OBC candidates, of meritorious candidates who consider. This is what the another important thing is concerned. So therefore, again, by the moment the government say this was passed in January, the Department of Personnel and Training, Department of Education, now so Ministry of HRD, or that time Ministry of HRD, and Ministry of Social Justice and Welfare, they all issued office memorandums with the directions to fulfill these vacancies, which I said earlier. On the one side, the amendment is under challenge even till today, but the government departments are there filling the vacancies and all. God knows, I cannot say beyond that. Now, coming back, other thing is no. So therefore, this SC/ST people, this reservation is to be of these people only. This is the important. The another point. No, even they prescribe the guidelines who should be covered the economically weaker section EWS. The limit given was 8 lakhs per annum, the family income. Whoever is having less than 8 lakhs, they will become under the category economically weaker sections. Then those who are having 5 acres of land, they will come under the, or less, they will come under the economically weaker section category, or people having residential plots of 1,000 square feet and less, they will come under this category. And residential plot of 100 square yard, and residential plot 200 square in the municipal areas, and residential plot of 200 square yards in the area of rural area. These are the criteria for determining the economic, say, persons coming in the. Again, it is debatable. We all know that no 8 lakhs limit is the say appropriate or not. That's a debatable only. So these are the the amendment made into this. So therefore, these are the, it has raised the contentions, as I said, that this reservation is constitutionally unacceptable. It will affect the basic structure of the constitution. It alters the basic structure of the constitution, and most importantly, it eats away the job opportunities of the meritorious candidates belonging to scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and OBC candidates. This is about this aspect is concerned, about the constitutional amendment is concerned.
Sir, one more thing I would like to know, since you are directly involved in this last 7 days, sir, exactly what were the arguments that were raised during the 7 days, and how it was countered, or how can you specifically try to highlight those points so that our viewers will be able to understand what exactly had happened on these 7 days, sir?
Actually, let me tell you, see, all the parties, this petitioners and the government side, they've been given an opportunity. They've been given an opportunity to give their own suggestions or views about what type of issues to be raised. In all, there was the 10, say, senior advocates, the government side, they given their, what are suggestions for inclusion for the issues to be framed. Ultimately, it is the Supreme Court brought this into the 3 main categories, which is taken up for consideration. Actually, it was this was suggested by the Attorney General only, and everybody has accepted it. There is no doubt about it. So the 3 issues, based on consensus, taken up for discussion or debates only. Those things are whether the 103rd constitutional amendment can be said to breach or violate the basics of the Constitution by permitting the state to make special provisions, including reservation based on the economic criteria. That is what the one of things the court has been asked to determine whether the constitutional amendment which provided for 10% reservation for the economically weaker section, basically not a forward caste, whether it affects the basic structure of the constitution. That's what one issue to be taken up for discussion. Then they also the 103rd amendment also provided for no reservation in this in the aided colleges and unaided institutions. So another issue taken up was whether the constitutional amendment 103rd amendment it's violated the principle based on the constitution with regard to providing reservation for 10% to the admission to the private aided unaided institution for the economically weaker section. That's the second issue taken up. And the third issue which we have discussed, whether the exclusion of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe BC members, meritorious students from the reservation of 10%, 10%, whether it violates the basic structure of the constitution or not. These are the three broader issues. One is whether the constitutional amendment the power whether the power exists with the parliament to give reservation of 10% purely on the basis of economic criteria, whether it affected the basic structure or not. Number two, that the same power, the reservation made for 10% in educational institution, including unaided and aided unaided, whether it affects the basic structure. Both are by and large the arguments are the same only. And the third issue taken up is the exclusion of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe basis from the from the reserved segment of 10% affect the basic structure or not. This is what the broadly issues taken up for a discussion. I mean, agreed in consensus by this petitioner side as well as the government side is concerned in brief. Yes, please, sir. Hello. Now,
yes, sir. So
now coming back to the contents, you said no.
Yeah.
Now, just let me come back to the contents taken by the petitioners.
Correct, sir.
Now, what the contents made by the petitioners are. That's let me also talk about no overall. 25 petitions have been clubbed together, and one of the petitions by the People Democratic of India Democratic, and another application is by one Mr. Rameshwarlal Sevarthi, who is a 92 years old person, is the petitioner in our petition filed with the Supreme Court of India. He was with us for all the 7 days, and I must thank him on behalf of the People's Party of India. Now, what are the issues raised in the petition filed by the People's Democratic of India, People's Party of India Democratic? Now, the first argument was the 103rd Amendment contrary with the basics of the Constitution. That is what the first this thing is. Then it is affect the basics of the Constitution because it is contrary to the decision of the Keswan and the Bharti case, Keswan and the Bharti case, and the Indra Saini case. These are the things because the basic structure theories should be in the Keswan and the Bharti case only. Then the second major argument raised by the petitioner, this People's Party of India and through Mr. Rameshwarlal Sevarthi was, there is no material evidence to demonstrate that the class of economically weaker section so enacted by the government is adequately not represented in public services, and such class no adequate opportunity in educational institutions. This was the second issue. See, with regard to schedule the 7th, what is the basis for making the 15% reservation for SC and 7% for 7.5 for ST in the year at the 1950? It is based on the census population ratio. At the time of independence, the population of SC was around 15%. The population of ST was 7.5, but that is the basis or rationale for providing reservation for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe community. There is a rational nexus reason which available. With regard to the BCs, the OBCs, we all know about the Mandal Commission recommendations that they made that be detailed and a committee. The government of it, the then government appointed the commission to go analyze and study the impact of it, and we know the pros and cons of and all. We will witness with our own eyes Mandal Commission, how many people, people have been died. All that's a part of the history. That's the. But the point to be noted or kept in mind is the government has taken exhaustive exercise to find out who are the people coming in the category of backward classes and what proportion of this research should be made available to them. So there is a racial beginning. But with regard to this 10% reservation made for the economically weaker section, no such exercise has been taken by this government. That is what the thing under. How you can make, you cannot imagine anything. What is the basis or rationale to earmark the 10%? What is the criteria for ST? There is a criteria for SC criteria. All these things are there. So that is another option, that the government should have undertaken the detailed exercise before providing this 10% reservation. That is the objection taken. That is this issue raised before the before in our petition. Then also, similarly, this was also alleged that in our petition there is no material evidence to show that economically weaker sections is a backward class. Where is the source? How you can say the economically weaker section who are earning say 10 lakhs below, they will come under the category of backward? What is the rationale? What is the basis? What is the authenticity? There is no such authenticity. Not only that, in reality, the economy, in fact, is in reality, it is the fact that the economically weaker section is represented more than their population in the public service or educational institutions. This is again based on record. This is what we also were arguing before the court, and this is what the issue raised in our petition also. So this is the things, and another things also. No, this may not be very important, but in the this reservation made to the SC, ST, OBC is duly incorporated of the Constitution itself. This, for example, the SC is defined under the Article 360 subclass 24 of the Constitution of India, and the SC is notified under Article 341 of the Constitution of India. The definition of ST is given under Article 366 subclass 25, and the Article 342 notified who constitute ST. Similarly, with regard to socially and educated backward classes, it was notified under Article 360 26 subclass C. And again, socially and educated backward class was notified under 344A. These are inbuilt in provide the constitution. But for economic reservation of 10%, there is no such provision made in the Constitution itself. This is another way of looking at it is concerned. Now, then finally, what is this of the final argument was each and every aspect included under Article 15.6 and 16.6 by the 103rd Constitutional Amendment violated the basic structure of the Constitution. This is the sum and substance of the arguments, allegation raised in our petition before the Supreme Court of India through Sri Rameshwar Lal Sevadri versus Union of India is concerned. I think the time I'll complete that point only. Then what other aspect, if you have anything to add, things concerned. Now, let us also, it's equally. Now, this is what our side of the story is concerned. Now, what the government contention, that also we should know that this is what the issues raised by us. Then what the government side, that is the Attorney General, Solicitor General, they come with their own views, and I'll just briefly touch up on this. The main contention of the government side was Attorney General was that Article 15.4, 15.5, 16.4, along with Article 15.6 and 66, together constitute composite effort of the state to extend the benefit of affirmative action to all categories of vacant section. Let me explain it. They say that this 10% reservation earmarked for the economically weaker section who come under the category of forward class, this constitutes this affirmative action. We strongly object to say no. This affirmative action is meant for or providing to this people who have been subjected to exploitation over years, centuries old here. For them is the affirmative action is generally it is provided for. Therefore, the argument that 10% reservation constitutes affirmative action and no stretch of image can be accepted as affirmative action. No, it is not affirmative action. It will not come under the category of affirmative action because it does not serve it is not the meant. Affirmative action is not meant for giving this reservation as a Mandir Prasad. No, it is not a Mandir Prasad. Number one. Then what the argument placed by the government side was the balance represented general category of Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, Parsis, Sikhs, and Jains would be able to compete among themselves for the remaining 50. So he has divided the country into two categories. 50% for one category, communal, rather I would like to put it. The reservation for SC, ST, and OBC under one basket, and the remaining as a general category of this. That itself means that why you are making the communal divide. On the contrary, and also this 10 per this again I would like to bring that the reservation available to meritorious ST and OBC candidate and the general category is being taken away, which is not constitutionally, it is impermissible. So that is what the government side argument is and our side argument is. Then the government third argument of the government side is they said that demarcation of two compartments, one related to the backward class, what I said, with 50% reservation, and the other with general category with 10% reservation. They made two compartments. So then they said that this constitutional under the amendments is a new evolution. Now, you see, it's ridiculous. See, it's a clear-cut case that now there is a one, you are saying the 50% category, and you are saying the other remaining general asset with 10% reservation. How it become? Because the reservation means add to the 49.5% plus 10% goes to the 59.5%. Therefore, you are taking away the 10% will belong to the general category on which the SC, ST, and OBC candidates with the meritorious candidate, they are eligible as a right. They have the right to get a job or in under this category is concerned. So that the two compartment is valid or constitutionally valid or not is not acceptable is concerned. Then the another related argument brought by the government side was the new evolution of affirmative action for those among general category belong to economically weaker citizens. That's a forward committee. It will not amount to violation of rights. That's what I already said. No, it will. In all cases, it will affect the basic schedule of the constitution consent. Then the last point raised by the government side was the introduction of reservation up to 10% to be treated as an extraordinary situation. Where is the question of extraordinary situation in this case? You have hurriedly passed within 4 to 5 days without having any debate. And what is the hurriness in this? Have you done any exhaustive like the Mandal Commission? Why is the justification for it? Again, we should understand. See, the Parliament, our constitutional framework, the supremacy of the Constitution is very, very important. I would like to, complete my discussion on this by saying that for an hypothetical example, with regard to the discussion debate is the importance of the discussion debate. Tomorrow, let us say that hypothetically, let us say that the Parliament has say the Parliament particular part they want all the 540 seats in the Lok Sabha, and they also all the members of the belong to the same party. 100% majority Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Even with this majority, can the party having such a majority, 100% majority, can they alter the basic structure of the constitution, meaning thereby, can they convert the country from democracy to anarchy like Pakistan or China? Is it such power is available to the parliament under 368, even if they have the 100% majority in the parliament? No, that is not available to any party having the majority at all. Therefore, that the parliament which failed to give sufficient time for discussion in the place, that is not at all proper, and that the Supreme Court should have taken this into consideration. Although we tried our best to impress about the Supreme Court, please consider this issue also. As I said, they were sitting on the clock they set the clock on motion to touch the finishing line. So they were on the line. They were more concerned, worried about how to reach the finishing line. But but with the intent to reach the finishing line, you cannot implement the vital aspect of it. If not to that, tomorrow this issue is to come, this issue will raise again and then. So these are the issues raised by the petitioners and the issues given by the government side also. This is what our benefit of viewers concerned. Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Basically, you had put the arguments and the counter arguments that has happened for the last 7 days and make our viewers aware basically what has happened on all 7 days. So whatever your involvement was there for the last 7 days in this particular case, how do you think, what can be the outcome of this overall thing? Because now Supreme Court, they had reserved the order on the pleas which were challenged. So, on your association for the last 7 days, how do you feel? Where it will go? What can be the outcome?
Actually, one thing I should say, we cannot predict how the Supreme Court will behave, or how they say leave it apart. But as a say ordinary citizen of this country, after taking part in the delivery of 7 days, it's my personal view, and maybe wrong also. But what the general perception is, the court as a, because the petitioner side, they put forth their very argument very strongly, very effectively, vehemently also. But unfortunately, there was no corresponding these arguments came from the side of the government. Hardly they have any valid or solid reason to oppose our own arguments on that. Therefore, in my opinion, it's purely personal. Either the Supreme Court should struck down this 103rd Amendment, or if not, at least at least if they have some reservations or whatever reason, or they may allow this constitutional amendment. Partly they may allow it with the condition that this 10% reservation should be made applicable to or inclusive of SC, ST, and OBC class also. These are the two views in my opinion. And I think that let us hope and pray that they don't totally in toto say uphold his consent. If they uphold it, we cannot do anything about it. That is what my personal feelings concerned. With this, let me thank you for your channel for giving me the time to interact with you and your viewers. Let me thank you, and please to over to you, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for frankly speaking on whatever the developments has been happened. And since you were the direct eyewitness of this particular event, so we were very keen to hear from you what exactly has happened and how the overall, because hearing from media and hearing from the eyewitness person is more means clarification point of view and everything basically a direct this one. So we are really thankful to you for taking your time and joining us today and elaborating more on what all has happened on these 7 days and make aware our viewers about this particular issue of EWS reservation. Sir, we are really thankful once again, and we will again contact you, be in touch with you for any further discussions on this particular topic. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So this was Dr. K. ELUMALAI, sir, who has joined directly on this particular issue of EWS reservation, and he was the eyewitness for this particular case involved on all the 7 days, and he had rightly pointed out what has happened on these 7 days. So basically, this was a very informative video, and this will be there in this particular link. So we request you all to share this particular link in entire social media so that the other part of the people or other people who are in your network, they will also come to know about this particular topic, what exactly has happened on these 7 days and how important developments has been happened right from the beginning of this 103rd Amendment and how hurriedly it has been implemented and without waiting or without debating how it has been implemented, executed. So I would once again request you all to share this particular link in entire social network, and thank you very much for joining today. Tomorrow once again we will meet at 8:30 p.m. and we will have a discussion on important topics. सन 2023 and 2023 और 2024 भारत में बड़े लोकतांत्रिक राजनीतिक परिवर्तन के संकेत. So what are the political developments that are going to happen in 2023 and 2024, and whether any drastic changes that are going to happen political arena that we are going to discuss tomorrow. और ये इस टॉपिक के ऊपर हमारे साथ जुड़ेंगे मूल निवासी हेमराज सिंह पटेल जी, जो राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष है पीपीआईडी से, और मूल निवासी कलीमुद्दीन अंसारी सर, जो राष्ट्रीय उपाध्यक्ष है पीपल्स पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया डेमोक्रेटिक के. सो क्या राजनीतिक परिवर्तन होने वाले हैं 2023 और 24 में, जानिए कल 8:30 बजे. आज इस इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यू के ऊपर सभी जुड़ने के लिए आप सभी का पुनः एक बार बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. जय भीम, जय मूल निवासी, जय संविधान, जय भारत.